Welcome everybody to this week's Azure and AI Show. We have two new speakers with us this week, and we have a speaker that's joining us regularly, Sajida. So she's going to start off first with us today, and hopefully we'll have another two speakers joining us later. Sajida, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Can you see?
Okay, can you see that yet? Do you want to hit the hide button? See the hide? Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Frank, for giving this opportunity. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sajida Sultana, and I am Microsoft Certified Trainer. I have more than 7 years of experience working with Microsoft technology, especially Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and Azure. So today I am very excited for this session, create and launch your first Copilot agent. So today we are going to explore how organization can quickly build the intelligent AI agents using the Microsoft Copilot Studio. So we will see how this agent can connect with the knowledge sources, how agent can answer the user question, and how we can publish into the multiple channels like website, Microsoft Teams, and so on. So this session is designed for the beginner friendly. Before we jump into the demo, we will first try to understand what is Copilot Studio, when organizations should use it, and how it differs from the Microsoft 365 Copilot. And finally, we will build an live agent. We will connect it to the knowledge base. We will test and then we will publish. So by the end of this today's session, my goal is that we will try to understand how easy it is to create the AI powered agent that can support users with the real time business knowledge. Okay, so before we move into the demo, let's quickly walk you through today's agenda. So first, we will begin with the introduction to Copilot Studio. We'll discuss what it is and why it has become more important or more significant platform for building the AI-powered business agent. Then we will try to understand when we should choose the Copilot Studio. Then we will compare the Microsoft 365 Copilot and the Copilot Studio. Many people get confused between these two products, so we will try to clearly understand their purpose, difference, and when we should use which one. And finally, we will build one live demo. In this demo, we will create the Copilot agent from scratch. We'll connect to the knowledge base. We will try to test it in the canvas, and then we'll publish into the web channel. So moving forward to the first topics, what is Copilot Studio? So Copilot Studio is a low-code platform for building the custom AI agent. It mainly allows the organization to create conversational AI experience without needing the deep experience on AI or machine learning expertise. You don't need to know how to write code for making the agent within the Copilot Studio. Also, I can say with Copilot Studio, we can build the agent that can answer the question. We can automate some of the tasks. We can connect different types of workflow. We can connect different types of knowledge source. Let's say the website, public website, then SharePoint, documents, and different types of external system. And one of the biggest advantage of Copilot Studio that is we can combine the AI capabilities with the business workflow. That means we are not building the chatbot. We are building the intelligent assistant that can support the real business scenario. So in a simple term, we can say Copilot Studio helps the organization to quickly build the AI powered assistant that we can create, that can easily interact with the user. It can understand the business knowledge and it can automatically answer to the question. Let's go to the next topics. So now the question, why we should use or why we should choose the Copilot Studio. So the first reason I can say the ability to build the intelligent agent using the workflow, MCP, and the business knowledge. And this allows the agent to go beyond with the simple conversation and connect with the business data and the processes. And the second reason is the analytics and the insights. That means Copilot Studio provides the built-in analytics that help the organization to monitor how user is interacting with the agent, how we can identify the trend, and how we can see the user's experience, and based on their experience we can improve the performance over the time. And the third reason is the security. Organization can secure their data using the different type of authentication. And the final reason is the Copilot Studio support the multi-channel publishing. Um that means, let's say you want to build one AI agent, and that agent you want to publish on the web, you want to publish on the native mobile app, or maybe you want to publish on the Microsoft Teams. The same agent. So you can do that. The same agent you can use different channel in the Copilot Studio. Okay. So now the question is, what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? So Microsoft 365 Copilot is mainly designed to improve the personal productivity. Inside the Microsoft 365 application, it can be the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. It mainly helps the user to summarize the information. It helps us the user to generate the content and improve the collaboration. So now let's try to understand how it's different from the Copilot Studio, the Microsoft 365 Copilot. So actually, most of the people often confused about these two products just because of the two product uses the AI and the Copilot technology, but their purpose is totally different. So let's start with the Microsoft 365 Copilot. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is mainly focused on the personal productivity inside the Microsoft 365 apps. For example, it can help the user to draft the email. It can help the user to summarize the meeting notes. Also, it helps the user to generate the PowerPoint slide, this kind of works. So it mainly works with the Microsoft graph data, such as the email, chart, calendar, and so on. So in a simple term, we can say Microsoft 365 like a personal AI assistant that helps the employees to become more productive in their daily work. On the other hand, the Copilot Studio, that one is building for a custom AI agent and the Copilot for business scenario. So instead of only working with the Microsoft 365 platform, Copilot Studio mainly help us to create the own AI agent that we can connect the workflow, we can connect the MCP and the knowledge base. So in a simple term, we can say Copilot Studio allows us to make the agent that will help us to improve our business scenario, to make our business more profitable, this kind of things. Okay, now let's move on the live demo. So today we are going to build one simple Copilot Studio, Copilot agent. We will try to maintain all the steps from step 1 to from step 6. So first of all, we will make one agent from the blank canvas. Then we will feed the knowledge base within the agent. We will set up the authentication. Then we will test into the canvas. Then we will publish the agent. After that, again, we will test from the web. So let's move on the Copilot Studio. That one. Can you please confirm I am opening my Copilot Studio interface?
Yeah, sure, that's correct.
Okay. So if you want to make the agent from blank, we have to go the create blank agent. If you click on this, then it's asking the agent name. So I already made one AI agent, that is internship helper agent. Okay. And I have added the knowledge base, that is internship. It has some information about the internship. Let me open the PDF. Okay, this is the PDF I just fed into the agent, because when you will add any knowledge base, you have to click on the add knowledge base. Then it will ask the upload to the knowledge base, and it will take 1 or 2 minutes to finish it completely. So when you will add any knowledge, the status will show the in progress. But when it will complete, you should be able to see this status, the ready status. So let me go the overview. So I already changed the agent name, internship helper agent. Now we need to update the description and the instruction. So I already prepared one description. Let me copy paste this one. So what I'm saying here, I just wrote one description that is mainly saying we are trying to make one internship agent that mainly help us to answer the question based on the knowledge base. And now we need to add the instruction. Instruction mainly what the agent will do. Okay, so we are saying when the user will ask any question, use the knowledge base, only the knowledge base, don't search any information from the web. So it will just answer the question from our own knowledge base. Then we are giving some of the rules, just try to understand the user question and answer the question properly. So you can add some of the rules so that agent can follow this one. So we need to save it. You can change the model from here. For the demo purpose, I'm selecting this one. To save this one also. Okay, so if I go back to the slide, so we have done this step and this step. Now we need to set the authentication. So we have to go the settings option. So within the setting option, it has two options on the workstation. One option is the if user asks any question, if we select this option, sometimes maybe the information or user asking question answer is not available within the knowledge base, right? The own knowledge base. That time it will search on the web, but we need to change because we are not expecting any unknown information from the web. So we need to choose this option. Okay. Then we need to set up the security. So within the authentication, there are three different type of authentication we can set. It's one is the no authentication, authenticate with Microsoft, and authentication manually. For demo purpose, I'm selecting the no authentication. Okay. Then the step is we can test it on the canvas. So let me go. If I open the PDF, it has one deadline, it has the video editing position, this kind of information. So we will try to ask the same question. Let's say I'm asking here, tell me the, okay. So before asking the question, we need to configure the topics. So I'm adding one topics here. Let's say I'm writing the interns process. I'm adding some of the phrases just because of when the user will ask any question, if it's related to the internship, then these topics will trigger. Now we need to select which knowledge base it will select or it will answer based on this on. So we need to go the advanced option. And this is the generative answer. So we already uploaded the knowledge base, so we can select from here. This is the PDF, and now we need to select the input. This is the user question. It's activity.text. I can check. Yes, we are selecting the right knowledge source. Now we need to save. Let's say internship topics. It will take just few seconds. Okay, now it's ready. So if I show the conversation is start things, if I open the grading topics, so say grading topics, let's say I am saying the hi. This word is messed with this word, right? The hi word. So if I just write the hi, then it will trigger this topic and then it will show the same response. Hi, how can I help you today? So now we will ask some question based on the internship topic that we configured. So here, let's say I'm asking, tell me the deadline of internship. And let's see what it does. So now it's trying to searching the knowledge base. Now it's showing the deadline. Let me open the PDF. Yes, this is the same date. Let me again ask the same one more question. It's the video. Any position for video editing? Okay, now it's showing all the information related to the video editing position. All the information is already exist within the knowledge base. So the next step, let me again go back. The next step, we need to publish the agent. So now we'll publish it. It will take just few seconds again. Okay. Let's close it. It will publish in the backend, no problem. So after publishing this agent, we will open the agent with the demo website. So we can deploy the agent. We can show the agent in different type of channels. Let's say the web app, native app, Facebook, WhatsApp, these kind of channels. So it's showing maybe the publish complete. Let me open this one. It's showing the green. Okay, the JavaScript error. Let me again. So it will take just a few seconds, or sometimes it takes 2-3 minutes just to publish the agent. So let's see one more time. Don't know what happened. Let me. This one. So let me open our organization website. So don't know what happened, but when you will publish that agent, you will find one web interface. Let me open one website that I've already built. So when you will publish the Copilot Studio, you will able to see like this interface. The web agent, then you can ask any question. Let's say it's asking to change the language or select the language preference. So let's say I'm asking this question, what is the history of the UFN? I was able to answer. So within this agent, in the backend, we are feeding our organizational information. So it's showing the same information. That's all from my side today. Let me go back to
That's great. Anybody, any questions for Sajida?
That was a great demo.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you so much.
Sajida, how long have you been in MCT?
On air.
Okay, cool.
Welcome. Hal's here as well.
How you doing, Hal? Pleased to meet you.
If I can figure out how to unmute myself.
Yeah, you're grand. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good. Yay.
Yeah. So Dan tells me you're an Microsoft MVP for 30 years.
Yep. 30 years. First was, let's see, it was late 1996. November.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
What category were you an MVP?
I'm sorry, what?
What category in what area?
Well, let's see. To start with, it was a thing called Peropsis, which was personal operating systems. And then that changed and it became DTS, which is desktop systems. Let's see, from there, it went to a thing called printing and imaging. I and one other guy, Dr. Russ Valentine, who sadly is no longer with us, were the two people who understood and could work with the built-in fax module that Windows has always had. Okay, so printing and imaging, in this case, dealing with printers and images as in faxes. From there, I went on to become Windows Experience. That was the XP days. And then there was, whatever the Windows 10 thing was, that was, there was the personal and professional Windows systems, whatever. I forget what that exactly was. And then the last category is Outlook.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Timidayo.
Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Excellent to see you. It's been a while.
Howdy.
Nice to see you.
So, Sajida, there's just one question came in for you there. So it says, hi, Sajida, can you please tell me how I can handle role-based authentication like admin user. Can you see that on the screen?
Okay, so she's asking the question about the role-based authentication like admin or user, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for that, we need to configure the Microsoft Intra ID authentication. In here, we can add some couple of users as an admin and the other users as a user. So we need to configure the Azure Intra ID.
Okay. Cool. I hope that answers your question. There we go. I think Timideo got some networking issues. Anybody have any questions for Hal? Or so no, Hal.
You're an old person. Why would we want to talk to you for crying
Did
out
you
loud?
Oh,
did
no.
you start with MS Mail, Hal, or was it really with Exchange and
Well, no,
Outlook?
it was the Windows 95 Exchange client,
Okay, cool.
and that's what they called it.
Yeah.
They well, that's basically what it is, and how I actually got started doing this. I worked for a television station, and we had it was basically Windows for Workgroups that came with a thing called the Workgroup Post Office.
Right.
So we used that for in-house internal mail. For external mail, the ISP that we had at the time set us up with pop mailboxes. There were like 100 of them that they set up right off the bat. And that was all well and fine, except that if you've ever been to a television station, the news department has ridiculous turnover. People come and go pretty frequently. And we ran out of mailboxes. And it turned out that it took them about a week to build a new mailbox whenever we'd get somebody new in here. Well, that was simply not acceptable. So I got to looking around. There was a little SMTP pop post office that came on the Windows 3.51 resource CD. And well, that looks simple enough. So I went about setting the thing up and did some testing with it, and it all seemed to work, except that the Exchange client didn't like that pop service. If you looked at the transactional words on the internet between the client and the post office, it would give you all the right commands, hi, send me, and so forth. But the thing that it is when the server would send down the body of the email, it never got there, and the transaction would just complete. Thanks, goodbye, delete off the server. Not so good. So I wound up getting into msnews.microsoft.com, trying to figure out why that was happening. Between that and calling Microsoft and spending about 4 hours on the phone being shipped from one office to another office, and finally came out to be that, oh, yeah, you got that off the Resource Kit CD? Well, shoot, that's unsupported software. Ciao, son. Well, while I was in there looking and trying to get answers in the news group, I wound up finding a bunch of questions that I knew answers to, so I just started answering them. It got to be fun. And it turns out one of the people who was an MVP contacted me and says, you ought to be an MVP. Here, I'll sponsor you. And that was in late 96, and I've been here ever since. One way or another. Just trying to
great story. That's very good.
stay relevant and stuff. Yeah, it's
we're only newbies, myself and Dan, to the MVP program. So it's great to hear your story.
well, that and let me see, it's just, hang on a second. It's sitting right back here. I believe I did not move those.
Are these the new ones?
There they are. Well, there's the one. There's the other one. Okay, let's see if I can show them. This is version 2 out of 5. This was the second batch that was silver on black on silver. I'm sorry.
That's nice.
And that's a pocket protector. the very latest, and I just got these in the mail a couple of about a week ago. That's revision 5.
Nice.
The story behind that, if you're into stories, way back when I got was first awarded, the summits were quite a bit different than they were now. There were at the time about 350, 400 MVPs worldwide. The summit was an invite-only affair. You didn't really talk about it. There really wasn't much words about it because only 100, 125 out of the 400 or so would get invited. If you got invited, Microsoft did everything: the plane flights, the transportation, the food, the lodging, everything. You spent nothing for the time that you were there. But as I say, you didn't say anything about it because a lot of your friends weren't going to get to come. It was by invite only. And I got invited to the very first one that I was available to me. And I thought this was just awesome. So I went up there. I had stories about that too, but I'll tell that in a later date. So I get renewed, which was terrific. The summits were on about an 18-month cadence, not a year. And so the second one was coming around, and danged if I didn't get invited to that one too. Well, I had to do something to say thank you to everybody who was an MVP for letting my stupid, ugly butt hang around. And that's where these came from. That is the old logo. That logo is no longer used. It was public domain, built by, I forget what his name was, but he was a PowerPoint MVP, and he designed that logo. The saying on the side reads, MVPs provide straight answers and sound advice, world-class peer support. That's the slogan. And I built a little bit of an Easter egg into that one too. If you take that slogan and count syllables, you will find the first line has 5, the second line has 7, the third line has 5, which makes it a haiku. Why would I do that? Well, way back in the early days, I spent an awful lot of time on a remailer where people like Tony Redmond and Mark Robichaud and some of the super geniuses in the exchange world used to hang out. They would hang out on this remailer and they'd answer questions. On Fridays, they decided to have any answer that they put out either be a or a series of haikus. So if you asked a question on Friday, you got a bunch of haikus back for an answer to your problem, which was pretty insane, considering you first of all had to know what the answer was in order to tell it to somebody, and then you had to figure out how to make it into a haiku or series of same. So the only thing I could do for a slogan is it had to be a haiku. It took weeks to think that one up, but I'm kind of proud of it. And so today I have these pocket protectors. If I see you at the summit, if I see you on the street, if I see you in the restroom, it does not matter. If you're an MVP, you get handed one. Why? Because I'm saying thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for letting me part of the greatest, as far as I'm concerned, organization of people on the planet. MVPs are a class all of their own. There's just no one else in this world as special, as wonderful, as thoughtful, as smart as the MVP community. So this is my continued thank you to that community for allowing me to be part of it.
That's awesome.
Great. That's great. That's fantastic.
And the thing of it is I continue to have issues with them because at Microsoft, if I show them a picture, it's like, no, you can't use that. That's the old logo. No. Doesn't meet with our branding. No. And I just, well, okay, fine. The thing of it is it's public domain logo. You really can't stop me from using it. The most you can do is make me not an MVP anymore, which it seems to me would be kind of extreme. So I just don't say anything. I just don't say anything. I see you at the summit. I had you one. Don't say anything. You know, it's like, hey, you want
to
contraband?
Can I interest you in? Oh, slick! You got what? Would show that again? Wow, that's neat. Outstanding.
Nice, Frank.
Absolutely.
I was coming back from the MCT summit, and I had to wait around, and there was a shopping center where they had a phone stand. They could print anything on the back of your phone.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
yeah,
Outstanding.
very
Of course,
good.
doing that, you got to go through jump through their branding hoops,
Right.
Yeah.
which
Well,
I guess Dan found out about as well.
Yes, I did. That's a story for another week.
Yep.
We'll put together like a MVP confessionals or something.
Yeah, we can't have that public though. That's the only thing. So
Make that into some kind of an Inquirer magazine cover. Shocking news! Outer space babies. You know, that's what I used to love about looking at those walking through past the stand in the grocery stores. Is it's always some outer space baby.
Weekly World News and National Enquirer and all sorts of those weekly.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes.
Yep. Oh.
So that's great. We have two people in the wings there that are going to do a talk for us.
Excellent.
Just out of curiosity, the official start time is in 20 minutes?
No, we're live.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This started about 40 minutes ago at the top of the previous hour.
Okay, because I just don't know where to set the reminder. I guess I should go find it and just set it for.
I usually find it on Frank's profile. Hal.
Okay.
I search for Frank and then I look for his events.
Yeah, I have to thank you, Frank, for sending me for putting out that email. No, that alerted me that.
No problem.
And it said Irish time instead of Greenwich time. Of course, I'm GMT -7, and Arizona never changes, so that is always noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're on a DST, then it's not noon; it's 11 while you're under DST, and then.
Right.
We'd love to have you back another time for some of those
stories. I intend to be a permanent fixture if y'all don't mind.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome any Saturday. Sometimes I'm traveling and in a car, but iPhone has like a client for StreamYard, so I can usually join from almost anywhere, and then I just usually mute if I'm traveling.
Yeah.
But it's been a really good opportunity to meet other MCTs and community members and MVPs around the world. Frank does a really good job with this.
Yeah, and there's the other brand.
Thank you for the invite.
There's the other branding.
Yeah.
Nice. Coffee mugs.
Yeah. So we leave Davina. Do you want to share your screen there for us? And she's going to do a session, Service Now as an Intelligent Automation Hub.
Cool.
Orchestration on Azure platform, native versus ESB.
Oh, 1 second.
Sure. I'll let you know now when your screen is up.
Yes. I believe.
We can see your screen. Yeah, perfect.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Frank. And hi, Dan and Hal. Nice to meet you both, too. It was an interesting conversation that you all had. I'm clearly audible, right? I just want to make sure that I'm coming in.
You're perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know which time zones you all are in. At least for us, it's mountain time zone and it's noon. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining me today. So this presentation is about ServiceNow as an intelligent automation hub, orchestration on Azure. So we'll be discussing about mainly the platform native versus uh, enterprise service bus. I think Frank, you were asking me earlier about ESB. Yeah, it's having like in-house middleware technology kind of stuff compared to the platform native one. So yeah, to say in short about myself, I'm Divya Shri Yamani, and yeah, I have been working in service now for past 11 years now. And yeah, I have seen how it had evolved over the time. Uh, yeah, and yeah, we will, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be discussing about enterprise and modern integration and operation strategies using ServiceNow and Microsoft Azure together. So, over the last decade, enterprises rapidly adopted various cloud technologies, right? Like SaaS applications, AI services, or hybrid infrastructure. While this increased agility and innovation, it also gave space to like introduce major operational complexity as well. So there are organizations which struggled with fragmented systems, disconnected workflows, and rising operational overhead or cost. Um, so in this presentation, we will explore how platform native orchestration, especially using very specific to this topic of ServiceNow and Azure, provides a more scalable and intelligent alternative compared to traditional ESB centric architectures. Um So also, one other area we want to cover is how AI is changing incident management and provisioning, governance, and enterprise automation overall. Yeah. So we will split this session into these different modules. First, I'll explain the enterprise challenge with the ESBs, like created by hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Next, we will look at how ServiceNow evolved from a traditional service management like ITSM platform into an enterprise-wide automation hub. Then we will be comparing between the traditional architecture and uh, the modern platform native orchestration models. After that, we'll go more deeper into how ServiceNow and Azure integration architecture works, and also discuss how low code orchestration works at a scale. Uh, Also, I'll cover two important use cases like AI assisted, for suppose AI assisted incident auto remediation and multi cloud resource provisioning. And finally, we will discuss on measurable ROIs, operation maturity models, and the broader direction enterprises are heading towards to be autonomous to autonomous operations sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, there are several challenges with this enterprise service having in-house or things like that. So, modern enterprises are operating in one of the most complex IT environments we have ever seen, if we notice. So, most organizations today use multiple cloud providers. Yeah, I don't think if there are still organizations which just stick with one cloud provider. There are various SaaS platforms and on-premise systems and DevOps pipelines and and also to monitor all of this, lot of security tools in place and all that. So while this provides flexibility, it also creates significant integration challenges with all the systems working together. So the first issue is with the sprawling integrations, as we see the first bullet here. So historically, enterprises relied heavily on point to point integrations. Over time, these connections become uh, difficult to maintain because every system dependency creates additional operational complexity. For suppose I'll give one example, like if this is not exactly related, but to understand how the situation is. For suppose let's take service now upgrade. If an organization is doing an upgrade, it has to run through different test cases, and every year there is some development, some additions to the system, and that gets added to the further testing process. And yeah, and sometimes it's okay to test the really needed stuff, but sometimes we just give some fixes to some problems, and those fixes add additional complexity to be tested, and it's lot of not well planned kind of thing. So yeah, this may not be exactly related, but I just thought of it because we are recently going through an upgrade. So when one application changes, multiple integrations may break. So we have to keep testing everything all the time like that. And the second issue is with the silo tool chains. For example, Azure monitoring tools, AWS infrastructure, ticketing systems for other than ServiceNow, like Jira or other things, and CI/CD pipelines and compliance systems. They are all different things, and if we see, they all operate independently. As a result, teams spend valuable time manually coordinating workflows between disconnected platforms and all these things. So, so it's a overhead in there. Sorry, it's a overhead in there. And the third challenge is manual toil, like manual operational toil. A large percentage of engineering effort is still spent on repetitive tasks like restarting services, provisioning environments, or routing tickets to different teams, or performing compliance validation, or as I said, the earlier example for suppose testing and things like that. Uh, so, and finally, compliance becomes increasingly difficult because audit information is distributed across multiple systems. So, this combination of complexity, cost, and operational inefficiency is why enterprises are shifting towards a centralized orchestration platform. Um, so yeah, these are like few of the challenges, and uh, we'll see how things made difference over the time. So now we are now if we see ServiceNow's evolution, um, it's very important to understand because it reflects a broader shift happening across the enterprise IT. It's not just, yes, ServiceNow has evolved, but it's how the entire IT environment is right now. Originally, ServiceNow used to primarily focus on ITIL processes like incident, change, problem, things like that. To it was built on that core, but then there is next stage, um, second phase, which is known as ITOM, operational management. And its expansion, we have features like discovery, event management, CMDB capabilities, and orchestration features, all those things. And these allowed the platform to gain visibility into infrastructure relationships and various dependencies like operational dependencies. And we can see the next step ahead was, the third phase was about platform play. Like, this is where we got a beautiful flow designer and integration hub, which is like we are now into orchestration phase of it. So with Flow Designer and Integration Hub, ServiceNow evolved from a ticketing platform into a low-code, more autonomous and enterprise workflow engine. So with these, organizations are now able to automate business and infrastructure workflows across multiple systems using various APIs, instead of relying entirely on the middleware, which may be very sort of restricting kind of thing. So we passed this phase also, and now we are in the fourth, and we are entering into this fourth phase, which is like AI native phase, AI native hub, where we have features like Now Assist, Azure AI, generational AI, Gen AI spokes, all these things in the orchestration. And there are many predictive workflows and all those things. These are all like really transforming ServiceNow into an intelligent automation layer. So the platform is increasingly capable of understanding operational context, recommending actions, generating workflows, and even, as we discussed, one of the examples like initiating remediation automatically. So today, ServiceNow is no longer just an ITSM system. It has become it is becoming an enterprise orchestration brain. So this journey is really beautiful. Yeah, because so as I said, I have been in this for 11 years, and yeah, it is very nice to see how things got easier. Uh, uh, Easier in many ways, not just for using the tool, but also if we have to train someone or if we have to give the end product to some users, it's more efficient. And yeah, it's great. So now we can shortly discuss about the architecture comparison, our like main topic of this conversation, between the traditional uh, middleware versus ServiceNow platform native orchestration. For many years, enterprise service bus ESBs were considered the standard integration pattern for large enterprises, because there is so much to deal with and all. They centralized communication between systems and provided middleware based orchestration. However, ESB's implementation often became very complex with the growing organization, or um, with more things getting added to its structure. So deployment cycles were typically long because integrations required uh, custom adapters or transformation layers, message brokers, and specialized middleware expertise. Maintenance overhead was also high. Many enterprises needed um, dedicated teams simply to maintain the middleware infrastructure and troubleshoot integrations. Another challenge was limited AI readiness. With with the much evolving world right now, traditional ESBs were not designed for the AI driven workflows. predictive automation or dynamic orchestration sort of things. As organizations adopt the cloud native architectures, ESBs often became like the bottlenecks of that adaptation, and it needed a lot of work. Or at times, people may be still holding on to not going to cloud because they have to deal with this. There are those cases as well. Now compare that with all of this challenging ESB with ServiceNow, which is like a platform native orchestration model. Instead of building everything manually, enterprises can use a pre-built integration hub. Like there are different spokes in this. There is this module like integration hub, and there are different spokes within it. So one person need not know everything if they have to use different environments or different cloud structures. So ServiceNow has spokes for Teams, Azure, AWS, DevOps, Sentinel, and many other enterprise services. So this actually dramatically reduces the integration complexity. So there is lot of effort that can get minimized with this introduction. Sorry, Dan, are you asking something, or I see some text on your screen? Just want to make sure. Okay, yeah.
Just playing around with that.
Okay, yeah, just making sure. Yeah, so Flow Designer also, along with this integration hub, we also have a Flow Designer. We can structure the entire ServiceNow used to have they still have, they had workflows where you can run the flow of a change or incident. But this Flow Designer looks very similar, but it is quite different also, because this Flow Designer integrates with different systems, like I said, Teams, or it can post a message in Teams, or it can get data from Azure, or things like that. So everything is automated. For suppose if your system is about to crash due to some team from messaging and collaboration, something is broke on their end, we can design a flow so that we can get updates about what's happening. There are several situations where we were able to nicely take care of, proactively take care of a disaster which was about to happen, and things through these flows, which posted messages into Teams and like that. So also Flow Designer allows low code orchestration, which reduces dependency on highly specialized middleware developers. Another major advantage is centralized visibility, because orchestration is tied directly into CMDB. Workflows operate with infrastructure awareness and governance context. Finally, AI capabilities became native rather than bolted on later. This shift represents a broader architecture trend, moving from middleware centric integration towards cloud native orchestration platform. Uh, is what is the current architectural trend. Moving to our next slide, we will discuss like architecture between ServiceNow and Azure integration. This architecture, this diagram illustrates how ServiceNow and Azure work together to support enterprise scale orchestration. We see at the center is ServiceNow acting as the orchestration layer. Integration hub enables communication between ServiceNow and Azure through API and pre-built spokes. And on the Azure side, several services contribute important capabilities like Azure Monitor provides observing stuff and telemetry, and Azure DevOps provide support to that CI/CD and deployment workflows. Azure Logic apps and functions provide event-driven automation. Sorry, and Azure OpenAI provides AI-powered analysis and decision support. One of the most important architectural components here is the CMDB. The CMDB provides operational context, which services are related, what dependencies exist, which applications are impacted, and what remediation policies can be applied, and things like that. This allows workflow to become context aware instead of simply executing static automation scripts, and at times they can cause breaking up of some things in the back. So the result is a unified orchestration model that combines cloud scalability, automation, governance, and AI-assisted decision making. So we will just go in little more detail about how this integration hub and um, flow designer is like a very nice asset to the ServiceNow evolution. One major reason enterprises adopt this architecture is the speed of integration development. Integration Hub provides, as we discussed, many pre-built for many Azure services, and we also discussed there are few other spokes, which significantly reduces custom development effort. Instead of writing middleware code from scratch, organizations can configure integrations using reusable components like pre-built spokes. For for systems without native spokes, custom REST and SOAP spokes connectors can be still be created quickly using OAuth authentication, schema mapping, retrying, built-in retry logic, and resilient for resilient integrations. Another critical capability is Azure API Management Gateway. This acts as a centralized governance and security layer for all ServiceNow to Azure traffic. It supports authentication, uh, throttling, version control, and traffic monitoring. Flow Designer then orchestrates the workflow themselves, like the last one, Flow Designer patterns. Um, there is literally almost like no code. Um, um, we can design this flow chart. There are actions, conditions, flow logics, subflows. So we can use all of these functionalities to achieve various things to make it more autonomous. So with all this compared to traditional ESB orchestration, this dramatically simplifies implementation while improving agility. It also enables faster iteration because workflow can evolve without major middleware redesign. So, yeah, in the beginning, we were discussing that we will go through some examples. So, for suppose this is with incident auto remediation, AI assisted incident auto remediation. This is one of the most transformative enterprise use cases. Today, many incident management processes are still reactive and heavily dependent on human intervention. Engineers receive alerts, analyze logs, determine severity, identify steps, and manually execute actions. And also, we see a lot of SOPs, we used to call like standard operating procedures. Um, Even though they are standard, they are manually done. This process, all of this process is like time consuming and difficult to scale. In this architecture, Azure Monitor detects anomalies and sends alerts directly into ServiceNow. Azure OpenAI then analyzes the incident context, resolution patterns through history, telemetry data, and CMDB relationships available. Based on that analysis, the system determines the optimal remediation path. Flow Designer can then automatically execute remediation workflows such as restarting the services or scaling infrastructure or clearing out queues or escalating to for further support or to L2 teams whenever needed. The CMDB and ticket records update automatically throughout the process. The impact, the business impact is very substantial. Organizations are achieving faster incident resolution, reduced operational toil, improved uptime, and lower dependency on constant manual intervention. Most importantly, this creates the foundation for autonomous operations. And as we discussed in the very initial slide, there are a few challenges. So, with the traditional ESBs, and we can see all of them are mostly addressed, if not completely. There may be still some edge cases where they may be missed. Um, yeah. So for auto remediation technical architecture, here we see the technical workflow behind AI assisted remediation. Step one is alert ingestion. Azure Monitor sends events into ServiceNow through Integration Hub inbound spokes. The CMDB help correlate configuration items and its mapping and eliminate any duplicate events before unnecessary workflows begin. Step two is like AI based classification. Azure OpenAI evaluates historical incidents, infrastructure relationships, telemetry, and prior successful remediations. This enables dynamic decision making instead of static rule based automation, like blindly following the same thing for every problem, every similar looking problem. Step three is orchestration. Uh, ex- Orchestration execution, wherein it comes back to service now, where we discussed about this flow designer runs the appropriate remediation workflow automatically. If remediation succeeds, the incident is resolved and documented automatically. But in case of any escalation required, engineers receive complete operation context immediately. They receive alerts and such things. This reduces investigation time significantly because the system already performed the initial triage and context gathering, thereby helping the later resolution process. And multi cloud resource provisioning. Another important enterprise challenge is multi cloud complexity. Um, so there are different systems that we use. Like they are all on different clouds. Like in this example, we see each there are different cloud providers: Azure, AWS, and GCP. Each cloud provider has different set of APIs to interact, provisioning workflows, governance models, and terminology, everything. So without abstraction, this like flow designer, integration hub, with they create operational um, uh, consistency, and with that we can work with that we can remove this additional overhead of training for all these tools, and there wouldn't be any operational inconsistency basically. So ServiceNow addresses this by, as discussed earlier, as one second. Yeah, sorry. ServiceNow addresses this by acting as a centralized control panel, and communicating with these different clouds. Users request resource through a unified catalog interface, while ServiceNow handles provider specific orchestration behind the scenes. For example, here we saw like as Azure virtual machines, AWS EC2 instances, or GCP computing resources. They can all be requested through a standardized workflows. This improves governance, consistency, and operational efficiency. It also enables enterprise to enforce policies uniformly across multiple cloud providers instead of managing each environment independently with lot of wastage with the resources and all. Yeah. So, as we said, there are different technical patterns. This slide highlights several key implementation patterns. First is the native Azure integration through ARM APIs using integration hub spokes. This reduces custom development while supporting reliable infrastructure provisioning. Second is the cross cloud service catalog, in which users interact with one consistent experience regardless of cloud provider. Third is policy enforcement. Sorry, one second. I think I'm supposed. Yeah. Policy enforcement. Approval workflows, including CMDB validation and compliance checks before the provisioning occurs, can be done. This ensures governance is embedded directly into automation rather than handled afterward. Fourth is like state reconciliation. Uh, Discovery continuously synchronizes live cloud environments with the CMDB to detect configuration drift. And finally, cost guardrails integrate Azure cost management data into provide provisioning decisions. This helps organizations prevent overspending and other costs before infrastructure is deployed. Um, yeah, these are like few of those patterns. One second. Yeah. So the research showed strong operational performance across enterprise deployments. Organizations like in industries like financial services, healthcare, and manufacturing successfully hand to that case even within the educational institutions as well, successfully handled large workflow volumes using native orchestration. Azure's scalable infrastructure helped maintain low latency response times even during peak operational loads. And it and the other very consistent finding was the reduced deployment time compared to traditional ESB heavy architectures. So the benefits are not only technical, they also translate into operational agility and faster business delivery. That is with how it performs. And the next one about ROI and business impact. This slide summarizes measurable business outcomes. We can see that mean time to resolve, like for especially critical incidents, is substantially low. And the key driver is the AI auto remediation. Second, provisioning automation accelerates infrastructure delivery and reduces delays caused by manual approvals and provisioning tasks. Third, we can see pre-built spokes reduces the need for expensive custom integration projects. And CMDB native governance simplifies compliance reporting and audit preparation. And finally, engineering teams spend less time on repetitive operational work and more time on innovation and optimization. An important point here is that organizations do not need to achieve full autonomy immediately. Even with partial autonomy, maturity, uh, partial, autonomy, maturity, or automation delivers measurable operational and financial benefits, as we can see. Because there is always room for improvement. Yeah, at least a little that can be done towards this path will help do a lot for later innovations. Automation maturity model. So yeah, there are different levels at how an organization can perform. At lower maturity levels, operations are mostly manual and reactive. Um, we see here most enterprises enter this journey at L2 connected with isolated API integrations and limited automation coverage. So L2 systems are connected, but automation remains limited and fragmented. Most enterprises today fall somewhere in this range, but as they progress, they adopt to this AI assisted operations, workflow automation, and these things. Um, so this ServiceNow and Azure combination is valuable because it supports gradual maturity progression. We are not always at level 2, we'll be going further. Organizations can start with basic workflow automation and expand incrementally into more advanced AI driven orchestration capabilities. So even while doing that, they are at a lower risk of lower risk that transformation gives. It basically it reduces transformation risk while delivering continual operational improvements. And key takeaways from this whole presentation is ESB is no longer the uh, default strategy for many modern enterprises. Platform native orchestration offers greater agility and lower operational complexity. Second is AI transforms incident management. Um, and yeah, we saw how it substantially reduces the MTTR at enterprise scale. And third one, multi-cloud becomes more manageable. ServiceNow provides a practical orchestration layer for managing hybrid and multi-cloud environments consistently. And fourth, the ROI from automation is measurable across, like for operational efficiency, provisioning speed, compliance readiness, and engineering productivity. The broader trend is clear. Enterprises are moving toward intelligent autonomous operations where workflows become increasingly self managing and context aware. Yeah. So, thank you everyone for your time and attention today. I hope,
Great job.
yeah, thank you. I hope this presentation provides useful insight into how ServiceNow and Azure together are enabling next generation of enterprise automation and orchestration.
Yes, great presentation.
Indeed, superb.
Yeah, and I just see there recently that ServiceNow and Microsoft have done a
Mhm.
deal to partner with some of their services.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions coming in here on the chat. Would anybody here have any questions?
Do you have a sense on how much on-premises ServiceNow versus cloud there is? Is it like 50-50, or is it primarily cloud-based from a service perspective?
Um, I understood the later part, but I missed the first part of what you had asked.
Just on-premises versus cloud.
Uh-huh.
I believe ServiceNow used to run on-premises. Is that still prevalent, or is that?
I
you know,
don't think so, actually. I think it's
Yeah,
more
I
of
don't
a
either, but
yeah, it's more of a cloud.
yeah, I've heard about a lot of migrations,
Uh-huh.
and I'm assuming that's between versions, but I don't have a lot of details on, ServiceNow or experience with ServiceNow, I should say. But I hear about it being used a
Yeah.
lot in different enterprises.
Yeah. I also see a lot of people taking up to it. And at least as far as what I remember, my initial years of work, I remember that it started only with cloud.
Okay.
And yeah, maybe it is still, but it was a competitor of Salesforce sort of thing with
Okay.
more capabilities. Yeah.
What's the adoption rate of this workflow? Like, have you guys measured?
We didn't especially measure, but do you have anything specific like
Anything that you guys are tracking as a metrics for, how industry is adopting to this?
like ServiceNow?
And with like, I'm specifically
ServiceNow and
interested in
Azure.
Azure
Okay.
portion.
Yeah, I think that I don't have specific metrics, but I don't have an exact number, but I do see a lot of organizations taking up to this, and yeah, they are happy with what they are using, and work is a lot easier.
Cool. So, Suresh, can you hear me?
Suresh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Do you want
Yes,
to share your screen there with us?
sure. Give me 1 minute. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know.
Okay. I'll let you know when we can see it. So it's like 3 steps. When you hit the first button to present, you'll get share screen, and then on the top, okay, we've got it.
Got it right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Okay. So good evening, good morning, everyone. My name is Suresh. Today I will be presenting how Azure AI can transform Oracle Cloud PPM. So I'll explain a little bit what Oracle Cloud PPM, a little bit functionalities in a minute. From a reactive system into a predictive and autonomous governance platform. So Cloud PPM is basically it offers functionalities, features like from Oracle side. How do you create a project? How do you create a tasks, budget, and forecast, and then also create grants, link projects and grants and contracts, and then handle the billing, revenue recognition, accounting, and all the financial aspects of it. So that's pretty much in one line on Oracle Cloud PPM and grants. So I work for a client using the Azure AI for the decision enhancements over there. So today I will be presenting that experience a little bit, how Oracle Cloud PPM from a reactive system into a predictive and autonomous governance platform. So this session focuses on how we can proactively prevent financial risk, improve the compliance, and accelerate revenue recognition and enable any intelligent decision making for the leadership using Azure AI technologies layered on top of Oracle Cloud PPM. Okay, so let me move on to the next slide. Okay, actually it's reacting slow on my end. It's very slow. Okay. So today, many organizations are still operating reactively. Means after a certain problem happened, we know what needs to be done and fix it and then go from there. So the main agenda or the objective of using using the Azure AI for that particular client is it's extremely powerful in many cases. Risks are identified only after damages has already occurred. For example, if the project is budgeted with 1 million and then if it's overrunning, those risks are identified after the budgets are breached. Any compliance violations will be identified during the audits only. So although audit results are shown and displayed by the next year audit, same things keeps bouncing back. So this is the regular compliance from auditor perspective also. And revenue leakage happens through missing billing events. You are supposed to bill a customer, but you missed it for some reason, and then you realize it after the fact. And then contract interpretation errors. You are setting up a contract in one place. There are no automatic way of identifying any errors, or you are really, if a vendor needs to share a certain compliance certifications on time, but they didn't share it, during the audit, that is found. This kind of audit exposures. So there are certain, especially couple of we decided or designed a couple of problems, 4 problems, and then try to address using Azure AI. So these are the 4 problems: cost overruns, compliance violations, revenue leakage from not billing clients on time, and then contract interpretation errors. So these are the 4 major areas discussed, and then try to achieve or solve using Azure AI. So where traditional ERP fails short or fall short. So this slide highlights 4 major governance gaps in traditional ERP systems. First is forecasting management. Most ETC means estimated to complete from today onwards how much more money you're going to spend in the future. And then estimate at completion, EAC calculations are manually updated by project or task levels. And these are static. And second is compliance checks. Companies are still relying heavily on the post-transaction reviews after the fact, after manual forecasting, then only we review. And the third is the revenue assurance. So unbilled transactions are often missed. So this is where companies or ERP fall short, to my knowledge. And finally, contract interpretation errors under ASC 606 or other guidelines is still highly manual. These gaps, as I mentioned in the previous slide, leading to audit risk, missing revenue, poor forecasting efficiency or accuracy, and operational inefficiencies. So let me move on to the next slide. So Azure AI-enabled PPM governance framework. This core framework proposed in this presentation, this places Azure AI intelligence on top of Oracle PPM without modifying ERP system itself. So this framework is non-invasive, it's scalable for future, any other use cases identified in the future to add into this architecture, and it also it's autonomous. So Oracle remains the system of record. There are no changes to that. It can be added at any point of time, this framework, on top of existing implementation. While Azure becoming the intelligence and predictive governance layer. In the previous demonstrations, I've seen how agents can be created and then tested, preview, all that. So those are pretty much interesting. So similar to that, Azure AI sits on top of Oracle PPM. Okay, and moving on. It's a bit slow on my side. Please bear with me. So these are the 5 layers of intelligence. This framework is built using these 5 intelligent layers. The first layer is the data layer, which includes Oracle Cloud PPM and financial systems. And the second is the integration layer using the REST APIs and Azure data services. And the third, Azure AI intelligence layer, containing machine learning, predictive analytics, and all others inside there. And fourth is the automation layer, powered by Azure functions, event grid, things like that. And finally, the decision integration layer. This provides executive level forecasting, because for management, simplicity matters. So they just want to play around with the readily available intelligent forecaster data by comparing a couple of what if scenarios and take the decision as simple as possible in less time possible. So we have to achieve this fifth step to take the decisions as fast as possible with all the previous 4 layers. So the fifth one is a decision integration layer, intelligence layer. So this provides executive level forecasting and scenario modeling, what if scenario modeling. And then together, these 5 layers transform ERP data into intelligent governance actions. So that's the framework details behind it. And moving on. So I talked about mainly 3 or 4 problems previously in the slides. So I'll spend each problem in each slide for the next couple of slides. Okay. So capability 1 that I talked about focuses on proactive compliance enforcement. So Azure AI. Yeah. Azure AI evaluates transactions in real time before costs are posted into the accounting systems, for example, in subledgers. So it's evaluating in real time. Means if I have a budget of 20,000 on a project and a task, I'm trying to spend a new requisition with a 21,000. It's evaluated in upfront, or it also takes into consideration of the past data across the projects, things like that, and also gives you an idea what is going to happen. So that's and then using the NLP based contract parsing and system interpret sponsor languages or guidelines, regulations, contract clauses automatically. The framework continuously learns evolving compliance rules and can automatically block non-compliant transactions before they even impact financial report. For example, expense claim submission, you have a policy built already. 4 persons can, for example, a company had a policy called 4 persons traveling on a trip, staying in the same hotel needs to take only 1 car, for example. This is a policy, let's say. And then, but in real, or 4 persons are submitting a car reimbursements, for example, right? Nobody validates this. We need to validate currently all these things manually. So if we have an intelligent platform that I just explained built in for this use case, it can help to save some time in stopping these transactions in advance, right? So it's just additional help. So capability 2, moving on to the next slide. Right. Forecasts that get smarter over time. Traditional forecasting methods are static and often updated quickly or outdated quickly. The forecast learning engine continuously trains on historical project performance and various patterns. So it performs a volatility analysis. Cross-project learning belongs to same customer or maybe similar projects in nature, and automatic recalibration as new actual costs keeps coming into or hitting the new projects. And then over time, forecast accuracy improves significantly because it's learning from the past of similar projects, because the model continuously learns from operational behavior. So currently, this is purely manual, and then lots of forecasting tools are available. Still, you need to work it out, configure, do a lot of things to make it work. Still, still at the end of the day, it's still a reactive. There is no predictive. So whatever system we use, it's if not Oracle, some other system. And at the day, we definitely need a framework to support the decision makings or help with the forecast learning. Next capability. Capability 3, I have introduced before. For companies managing grants and multi-award portfolios. As I mentioned before, a public sector company is getting funds from a federal, state, bonds, grants, lots of other various counties, so things like that. So they are sharing 80, 10, 5 percentage of contribution to a project from different grants, funding exhaustion, right? So you have to really trace each of the spending, who is providing how much funding from which grant, till down to the penny, right? You have to really provide all the traceability before asking sponsor to pay you back. So the traceability is really important. But if you already end up spending the cost beyond what they have sponsored, that's a major risk, right? You have to identify those things well in advance. Otherwise, it will get caught in the audit. You have to adjust from other funding, things like that. So to avoid all those companies who are managing grants and multi-award portfolios, funding exhaustion can become a major risk, as I just explained. So this engine monitors burn rates across projects in real time. It predicts funding shortfalls, detects any anomalies. For example, you're spending outside of the compliance, and proactively alerts finance teams, like we have seen in the previous presentation, service management, they're using incident alerts. So similar to this, similar to the same concept. Proactively alerts finance teams before funding gaps occur. So this enables companies to take corrective action early rather than reacting after depletion happens. So capability 4, just it's loading. So revenue leakage, right? Revenue is a major challenge in complex billing environments. So some projects we have to be billing based on the actual cost. Some projects maybe you have to bill based on the contractual obligations, 12% each month, or maybe based on forecasting, advanced billing, not based on actuals, but advanced billing. So there are different varieties that you need to follow while billing the customers or the sponsors, depends on the contractual obligations. So those are all offered within the cloud PPM. But on top of it, are we really in compliant with those? Are we missing out any amounts that we are supposed to bill? If you realize after 3 months, that's the revenue leakage. You're supposed to bill it. You may have received money already, but you didn't. So revenue leakage is a major challenge in complex billing environments like this, especially public sector. So the revenue leakage engine, detection engine, continuously monitors transaction pipelines for any unbilled transactions which are supposed to be billed, any stalled billing events or missed revenue obligations. It also maps billing triggers directly to ASC 606 or any other performance obligations that we drive. And then goal is simple: capture every billing or billable dollar before financial close, as much as we can, and as which you're supposed to bill. Okay, that's another capability, 4 capability, and the last one, capability 5. Sorry, next I went to the next one. Okay, so this capability provides executive level decision intelligence. As I mentioned before, leadership can run what if scenario simulations across the portfolio of projects. For example, any budget changes, budget movements. 3 projects belong to maybe same sponsor, and they are okay to allocate leftover budget from one project to another project. So this is called reallocations. Can we playing those kind of reallocation patterns, and then schedule impacts if some project getting delayed or this kind of impacts. So this is the capability engine. All we are trying to do is guess as much as we can with the past data using the intelligence of the technologies that are available. Okay, so this framework also provides risk-weighted financial projections and natural language insights that make complex analytics understandable for executives easily. So as I mentioned before, Azure sits on top. Oracle still stays in the control. One of the biggest case, they have done using the configuration. There's no ERP level customization, no invasive modifications, no disruption to any of the core ERP platforms that they already have. But Azure connects through REST APIs, event grid functions, and then some machine learning services. This creates a scalable. Maybe you have 5 use cases today, and you can increase that to another 6, 7, 8, like that. So future-ready intelligence layer on layer above Oracle Cloud PPM. So that's the architecture. Moving on. Right. So this framework, as I mentioned before, has demonstrated measurable benefits. I have participated in one company experiencing this example. That's why I wanted to present here. Benefits across regulated industries, large-scale portfolios. Organizations experienced improved forecasting accuracy, faster billing cycles, reduced revenue leakage, and reduced manual reconciliation effort. Means between PPM and GL, if there is any gaps, some certain accounting did not flow back to GL during the month end, you need to spend time understanding what happened and then fix errors and reprocess. If you know early in advance, you will be saving at the day one, work day one effort. So that is additional reconciliation efforts you're saving in this. So these improvements directly impact operational efficiency and financial governance maturity as well. Moving to the next. Okay, so again, the same framework, especially valuable for highly regulated industries. As I mentioned before, public sector is one such example. Research institutions where funding operates mostly on the funding, and they have to really carefully monitor the funding and all. Infrastructure programs and regulated enterprises. So these are the key example industries, and these organizations require strict compliance for, as I mentioned before, match requirements from different sponsors, audit readiness, immediately be able to produce reports or dashboards or analytics like this, which are in compliant with the sponsor requirements. And funding transparency. Everybody should know where you're spending what dollar in what project for what purpose. That kind of a transparency and strong financial governance. So this framework is, I'm not saying this is the everything. This is just helpful on top of existing Oracle Cloud PPM or any other platform to utilize certain case studies. So it is a purpose built, as I mentioned, specific narrow down purpose, but it can be scalable to any other needs. So moving to the last. So the convergence that makes it possible. These the three major industry shifts have made autonomous PPM governance possible today for the client. So first is Azure AI maturity, which is a production grade AI services are now widely accessible. Second is Oracle Cloud PPM API readiness. So modern APIs allow deep integration without any major customizations. And the third, growing regulatory pressure. So companies are under increasing pressure to proactively, monitor and then stick to the compliances and financial transparency. So that makes possible. So the future, moving on to the next. So the future of PPM is predictive, autonomous, and which is already here for that, and it is usable. So to conclude, the future of enterprise PPM is becoming predictive and autonomous. This framework shifts ERP from being only a recording system, data entry, a recording system, into real-time decision intelligence platform as well. So company can prevent financial risk, enforce compliance proactively, accelerate revenue capture, and empower leadership and intelligent insights. So that's all I would like you to share, little bit experience on how we used Azure AI on top of Oracle Cloud PPM. And thank you everyone for your time and attention. I truly, really appreciate for the opportunity to present today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great job.
Very good. Nice presentation.
Were you able to find any like major discrepancies in the revenue model using this service that you guys built? Like how it helped actually
So
the
this
end
Oracle
customer?
standard to add these can be scalable. An example of forecasting months to maintain cash, not for as a project. So this will help in so
I think your
Yeah.
voice was breaking a bit throughout the answer. That's
I think
fine.
he got kicked off, I think. So you might have to log back in again. He was having networking issues at the start. He was in and out. So
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, his audio was breaking up pretty bad there.
yeah. So we'll let you carry on with your one there. So I know we're kind of way over time this week, but
Yeah, seems like a extended period.
yeah.
Total joy from here. I'm having a ball.
Yeah. So if you want to share your screen there with us.
Yes, let me see how to upload my presentation.
So you're going to do a talk on the RAG-driven agents.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. We're getting a piece of everything tonight. Yeah, there we go. We can see it.
Perfect. Yes. Hey everyone, my name is Malik Bhatt. I'm a senior software engineer and cloud and AI services enthusiast. Today I'm going to talk about RAG-driven agents on Azure, like how the search has evolved to the intelligence. Basically, we are going to talk about how the static knowledge is helping the LLM to do better reasoning. All right. Okay. Yes. So we know that LLMs have transformed our industry for past couple of years. It has completely changed how we develop and execute our software systems. But this all the modern LLMs have these problems that are very widely known. The first one is they are frozen in the knowledge, frozen knowledge. So basically, since the training has stopped for this LLM model, the model doesn't have knowledge about the events that have happened after that date. So the training cutoff date leaves the model in an uninformed state about the latest updates and the domain related knowledge. So that's the first problem about frozen knowledge. The second is 40% hallucination rate. So these LLM models without any RAG, they itself hallucinates a lot. So model fabricates the facts many times and it becomes almost undetectable at some point that it is actually a real answer or something that it was fabricated. So that's a major issue with this LLM models. And third is many times companies prefer to fine tune their own models, but fine tuning model brings a lot of higher cost. So like 10 to 50x, depending upon how much fine tuning you want to do on top of LLM model. And yeah, once you fine tune, let's say the new model comes in, you have to again fine tune that model. So many times it leads to the higher cost on the customer side. So yeah, today we are going to talk about the RAG fundamentals, how bridging the gap between models and knowledge. So we all know that. I mean, this is currently the RAG pipeline that most of the industry companies follow. So first we have the query processing, and then retrieval, then context injection, generation, and lastly the validation. So query processing is basically when before we send the query to the LLM itself, we break it down in subqueries. We identify different tasks underneath, and we retrieve the knowledge based on the different tasks. So let's say the query comes in. It turns out that query processing generated 3 different tasks. 2 of them were related to knowledge retrieval, that we need to retrieve the knowledge from the attached data sources. So this falls under the retrieval part. Once we retrieve this information, we embed that information into the context. So it's called context injection, basically. And then after this step, along with this all the context and the given prompt, we feed it to the LLM generation. So at that point, LLM have more information about the question it has received in the prompt. And along with this context, it can generate a better answer instead of the fabrication. And of course, we always try to have a feedback loop. So we try to do the validation in the end once we have the answer generated from the LLM. So Azure has like a wide range of services, and I'm going to display like how we can plug in some of the services that can help us build these RAG pipelines. So Azure AI Search is another one of the hybrid retrieval that we have today, which works on the vector plus BM25 keyword matching. So this is about how we can effectively search make the semantic search across our data sources. So Azure AI Search here fits in the retrieval part of it. We have Azure OpenAI services for generating embeddings for semantic search. So this is a part where when we receive the information from the corporates or a user, basically who has the large amount of data source or data or the data sets, Azure OpenAI service embedding helps us generate the embeddings out of it. So which can be later used for the semantic search. Of course, we need to store this embedding somewhere, and Azure Cosmos DB is one of the database that works at a scale and which also supports the vector search, which is definitely needed for the semantic search. And yeah, along with this all approach, we can reduce the hallucination about 80% with the verifiable resource citations. So whenever we generate the responses, we ask the LLM to also cite the references where the answers are fetched from. So that way we can validate all the answers individually that came generated from LLM are actually coming from one of the data source that was initially attached. Moving to the next slide. So this is how one of the Azure AI search engine looks like. So I was able to create one of the vector profile here in AI search service. And yeah, I mean, basically here we tell all the information like what kind of vector profile you want to build. And based on that, yeah, this will help us fuse in the during the search of the data. Now, I just talked about the RAG, but the traditional RAG has some limitations. And we are going to next talk about the agentic RAG. So traditional RAG is like single pass on the fixed pipeline. So once we have the information, we don't iterate over it. It's just a fixed pipeline that once retrieved, we just pass it that information. No refinement on the memory or the memory across the ton. So many times, like this, the same data is retrieved again and again, which introduce the some amount of latency if we have memory across the tons. we can preserve these retrieved embeddings, and that way we can reduce the latency while executing subsequent queries. Even though the first query will have high latency, but subsequent queries can have lower latency using the memory and the refinement. The traditional RAG cannot do the multi-hop reasoning. So let's say we generate the answer using the RAG. The next time the customer or the user asks the next prompt, the prompt has to be coherent. Like multiple prompt answers should be like in the same coherent reasoning process. But we have seen the issues with the traditional RAG, which will bring us to the agentic RAG afterwards. And of course, there is no self-correction when the context is insufficient. So since we don't have the feedback loops correctly set in the traditional RAG, it is very hard to correct the LM generated answers on the future. So what do we have with the agentic RAG? So agentic RAG can bring like we can plan multi-step strategies dynamically. So we will see in the next slide or so, but we have a pipeline where we will see that it takes multiple turns, iterates over its responses, and fetches the live data like from the real-time feed or APIs. So that way, we have the most latest data, and top of it, it because it iterated a couple of times, it can do a better reasoning. Azure AI agent service basically can help us do this orchestration. So we will later see how one of the Azure service can help us do this agentic RAG executions. So here is one of the pipeline like with agentic RAG. So in this case, user has let's say user has inserted a prompt. So first the prompt goes to the router agent. Router agent identifies that okay, to which agent we should divert this query to, because we have like bunch of agent intended for serving different tasks. Router agent's job is to identify to which agent I should divert this query to. So once the router agent correctly identifies the the agent, the query will be diverted there and it will go to the planner agent. Now, planner agent basically break down this query. It identifies, okay, I need to call a couple of tools, APIs, and another agent to help me, let's say, generate some document or perform some task. So the planner agent's job is to break it down, create subtask underneath, and feed it to the other agents. So here we have the Azure AI search, which can help us do the the planner agent will feed this information for one of the tasks to Azure AI search, where we can do the hybrid and semantic search. Similarly, we have the parallelly research agent. So let's say planner agent identified that it need to feed in this information to one of the research agent they have, which will talk to the database in the Cosmos DB and generate the information out of it. So yeah, the research agent will work with the planner agent and feed it all the information. And all this information will be given to lastly to the validation agent. So verification agents basically validates that whatever the agents have generated so far, it's correctly and coherent. Otherwise, it can reject the response if it can detect the hallucination. And lastly, the synthesis is basically generating the all like coherent answer out of the multiple response that we have received from individual agents. So it basically stitches together all the information and give it back to the user, the final answer. So this is basically the simplest way we can imagine the technical architecture of the agentic RAG using the Azure services. Now, I just wanted to showcase what are the Azure offerings we have today. So the first one is Azure AI Search. It's basically index you can think about, where we can index all the information or data sets or data sources that we have received from user, and this all once we index the data, this provides the query a platform for our queries. So it can search with the vector and BM25 search. So this is one of the important and critical service for our RAG system. Second is Azure OpenAI service. This is one of the service that can generate the embedding and offer and we can have the fine tuning of the model. But this is specifically scoped down to the OpenAI models that we have today. Third one is the Azure Cosmos DB. So this is one of the database that we have, which is a NoSQL database, and help us store all the embeddings in the table. So whenever we have generated embeddings using the OpenAI service, we can use the Cosmos DB to store the data embeddings and retrieve also later. And this is a very efficient and performance wise sub latency, like it has very sub 10 seconds latency um, for retrieving these embeddings. Apart from that, we have Azure AI Document Intelligence. So when we receive the documents from the customer, it can be structured data or unstructured data like image or video. So we have this document intelligence service that help us break down this document and generate the make the parse them and make the chunks out of it. So apart from the structured data, this AI document intelligence service help us also index the unstructured data like image, video files, voice files, everything. Otherwise, we have the Azure AI Foundry service. This service is basically a complete framework for building a end-to-end RAG service. So above ones that we have seen that are intended for individual purposes, but this service is kind of a, a, a framework that can help us plug in these above services as a component in our pipeline. So that way we can build end-to-end RAG service on top on this AI Foundry service. Here they have also offering for different models that are apart from OpenAI offered in this industry. And of course, all the services that we build today need observability and tracking. This also contains the metrics emission, the alarm system, and any business intelligence software that runs on top of it. So that's why having a Azure monitoring and apps inside is must. This is the one of the vector search I was trying to set up in the Azure Cosmos DB. Just a screenshot to showcase how we can set up a simple vector search in our Cosmos DB today. In real world Azure, using the Azure racks deployments, we have seen a couple of industries like healthcare, retail, and financial services, and even the large scale enterprise they have seen the performance improvement across the board. So healthcare is one of them. So we have seen about major hospital network achieved about 30% reduction in misdiagnosis using the clinical rag on the Azure. The healthcare services definitely use this platform to generate the diagnosis for different online services they have today. So before actually patient reaches the hospital, many times we have seen on the hospital apps, healthcare apps, they ask bunch of questions. It helps them divert the patient to the correct department in the hospital. And even if many times the hospital visit is not needed, but this diagnosis needs to be accurate. And using this Azure RAG deployments, we have seen about a 30% reduction across the board. Similarly, we have seen the retail, where the personalized shopping assistants based on the Azure OpenAI and AI search have performs better with the context-aware responses. So in retail industry, you will see most of the website have this personal assistant bot on the side. Many times we just try to use it, but it doesn't give us a performant outputs. Like we ended up mostly searching by ourselves. But using this RAG-based bots, overall, the industry has seen a better performance in finding the correct products that customers are looking for. Similarly, on the financial service side, the fraud detection is one of the important criteria for building the financial services, and combining the structured transaction data with unstructured cases like fraud detected history cases. The RAG services were able to detect better, flag the fraud transactions easily. And lastly, the enterprise data. So enterprise is have terabytes of data, and we have seen the Copilot demonstrates a RAG capability at scale like magnificently. So most of the industry in the enterprises, we have seen the Copilot being adopted very frequently. Now the Copilot integration is available in most of the, even the Office suite that we have today, which brings these enterprises easy on board. And the adoption rate is also very even high for this Copilot service. Even though with better RAG mechanism today, we still face lot of like couple of the issues that still outstanding today. One is the missing content. So let's say even with the given data sets and data sources that a user has provided, many times the query comes from in the prompt that doesn't have the we don't have the answers in our knowledge bases. So many times the knowledge bases lack the information that we need. But we do want to stop the LLM from fabricating the answers. We wanted to appropriately do the reasoning and ask for the more inputs from the customer. But yeah, this is still a current gap, and there are some mitigations around this, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, this is still an outstanding issue with our LLM generation today. Another one is a low precision. So many times the embedding search that we do today, the semantic search, we try to have the context aware search, but still it ends up fetching the paraphrases which are kind of irrelevant to the query, and they get actually inserted into the final answers also even after the multi-hop validation. What basically it brings the model's output to the low precision. And yeah, teams are kind of taking different approaches how we can combat this low precision issue. But yeah, still one of the most commonly faced issue in our LLM generated outputs. Third one is the context limit. So context limit is one of the important parameter for LLM models, where how much the context it can take in while generating the output. So we can attach more and more data sets to give the better answers, but it's not like we can feed everything to the LLM. There is a limit how much we can feed this information to the LLM model. And so whenever the query comes in, let's say we got about 8 MB of the data that we want to feed into the LLM. I'm just taking a hypothetical number, but the LLM can take only, let's say, certain like 4 or 6 MB amount of data. So what happens is the LLM faces the issue, and it many times it adds more context from different tools also. So it may end up in the context being overflow, and the query completely fails, or it may answer from the whatever it has so far given to it, and which might not be sufficient. And lastly, the hallucination. So even after feeding this correct information and context to the LLM models, many times LLM just ignores blatantly like the given information, even though we feed in that, okay, give this answer from this given context. And yeah, it ends up in the hallucination. So it is using RAG, we are definitely able to reduce the hallucination, but it's not completely gone. So some of the mitigations that we do while building these RAG services on the Azure side is when we make the chunk of tokens, we keep some overlaps like 10 to 50%. So basically we are duplicating some data in the chunks, but just to mitigate the low precision and make the models context aware, we try to do this like overlap chunks. The AI search, the Azure AI search also provides a re-ranker that can help us re-rank our outputs that we have received so far. So that way we can evaluate, basically we are re-evaluating our answers. And of course, we have the hybrid search approach where we can have the vector plus BM25 search, which where we add this 40 to 70% recall boost. So this is the configuration that we apply to the search service while setting up the search index. So that way we can basically reduce the hallucinations. And lastly, the query transformation and multi-query expansion. So instead of having a one query, like we talked about the planner agent, breaking down the query in multiple hops, multiple tasks is definitely helpful. So yeah, these are the one of few of the enterprise patterns that we have seen that a customer adopts to on the Azure platform. So like we talked, Cosmos DB is I think one of the major choices for our users for the low latency at scale. But apart from that, most of the time enterprise adds the Redis cache on top of it just to reduce the cost on the actual query to the database, because many times the same prompt being are coming from different users. So once we cache the responses, it helps us reduce the cost at the database layer. And yeah, Azure AI Foundry prompt flow is for the pipeline orchestration, like we talked previously. Structured logging, which is definitely needed for traceability. So see, these are the generative AI services. The logging is must, but it's also a PII information. So whatever the answers we get from the LLM, we have to be very careful around how we log in our system, because yeah, it shouldn't be leaking in the services. So the structured logging, also a secure logging is must, and Azure has this service for monitoring service that we can take advantage of. And lastly, the responsible AI is basically contact filtering and groundness detection. So basically, we must have the guardrails in our system, because yeah, it can pollute the LLM's outputs if we don't have guardrails. So the guardrail is today is must. So content filter, whenever the prompts are being fed into the LLMs, we filter first of all. If any guardrails are violated, basically we reject the prompt at the same time. Uh, yep, this is one of the AI Foundry pipeline, the simplest one that I was able to build using that the AI Foundry service. It's a simple rack pipeline where it's very user friendly overall. And anybody can, like even the product managers or solution architects can build this kind of pipelines without any developer help today. Here is basically we are just saying that this is a pipeline, and so when the user prompts comes in, basically here the query rewriting happens, then feed into the open Azure AI search, and then later the semantic re-ranker, and lastly the LLM generator. Basically we are telling that, okay, plug in this component that we had today, that I currently built in the different services, and here we are stitching them together to make the end-to-end pipeline. The next slide is, this is the mainly the next features that industry is looking at. So apart from the text search, of course industry is mainly looking into the text, sorry, the image and table search. So we want a unified embedding approach, not just text, where we can index the embeddings coming from text, image parsing, structure tables from the databases. So multi-model RAG is the next industry standard that we are seeing right now, because the data can come in any format, and we want our RAG system to work across the different modalities. Graph RAG is another one. So the knowledge graph integration for multi-hop reasoning is kind of a must for upcoming services. So Microsoft GraphRag is one of the place where we can see do the connections between the data sets or information that we have today. So that way we can connect this information and do the better reasoning in the multi-hop processing. The third one is the adaptive system. So uh, apart from like static retrieval strategies, we try to have the dynamic retrieval strategies. So uh, these are the service that we basically we gets the feedback loop in and try to learn and adapt these feedbacks, and take up an approach where let's say we have 3 to 4 different retrieval services that we have, and we want to increase the traffic to one of the services based on the feedback that we receive from validation agents. So let's say the validation agents are giving the output metric that tells us that retrieval 1 service is performing much better than retrieval 2 service. So let's divert the traffic, the incoming traffic, adaptively to the retrieval 1. So this is called dynamic retrieval strategies that improve the performance of the rack system today. And lastly, of course, the privacy preservation, like I previously talked. These are the generative AI, so a service that actually runs on the customer data, and the customer data is like a PI information that we should be aware about and not leaking into any of our services or even in the logs. So we have this Azure confidential computing for securing the cross-org knowledge sharing. These are all information I wanted to share today. These are basically references that I took in from the different resources we have.
Very good. And along the way, we had a lot of interaction in the chat. So I'll show them up on the screen there if you can see. Can you see the screen there? Second now, if I take off this one. So you can see the stuff that came in on the chat. So we had this one, never thought 40% hallucination could cause such waste of compute. Thank you, Malik. Another one here. Hey Malik, nice insights. And we had another one. Thanks for giving us a detailed insight on RAG. Very nice, Malik. Yeah, that's it. Any questions, guys?
Great presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for giving the opportunity.
No questions, but yeah, that was great.
All right.
Okay, gee, then this must be the longest show we had. And over the 2 hours, 2 hours, 17 minutes.
Yeah, that's it's good to have this many, this kind of problem, right? Too many presenters and people to meet and talk with. It's great.
I had to turn down 2 other people this week. I said, look, I've got too many on, so, it's a good problem.
Yeah.
So Hal, thanks again for joining us. I'm going to fly away and get some dinner. Normally we have it for 1 hour, but sometimes it might be an hour and a half. But yeah,
this certainly works for me. As Arnold would say, I'll be back.
So
awesome.
I'm just going to end the live stream. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back here again next week at the same time for the Azure and AI show.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.